Welcome back to the show. And this is your bestie in freight. And of course, I'm your host, Lida, the podcast where we talk about what is really happening inside logistics, freight brokerage, tracking, business growth, and everything in between. And today's episode is really important one because we are gonna talk about something that is quietly changing the brokerage industry behind the scene, which is broker liability, carrier vetting, freight fraud, compliance, and why moving freight in 2026 is becoming more than just booking trucks. And honestly, a lot of brokers still think carrier setup is just onboarding paperwork when in reality it is quite quickly becoming legal risk management. So today my bestie in freight is Julian Tubbs. Julian works in business development with Go Logistics and GetGo Transportation and has a really interesting operational background in logistics leadership, airport operation, Amazon Express Logistics, DHL contracts, and transportation management. So thank you so much, Julian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lida. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Is what we think and what we see in this landscape from our point of view, and maybe kind of touch on a little bit of everything today.
Yes. Julian, you also bring a very balanced perspective because you understand both operation and business side of logistics, which I think is incredibly important right now with everything changing in freight. So I'm so happy to have you. So let's start from the beginning. How did you first get into logistics and transportation?
Very early. I think I was 19 years old, and I had applied for a union position with Roadway. Was a large carrier. They had changed names multiple times, but when I was 19, I applied. I started part-time, ended up working my way up full-time, and worked for them for 13 years. So I got a lot of knowledge of the carrier side of the industry. They were very, very large. They had very large contracts, government, Walmart, all the big names, and quickly learned and picked up everything and thought that logistics might be my thing. I like how fast it moves. I like making sure that things get moved to the correct place at the correct time with no delay. It's exciting to know that we can make that much of a difference in our economy and see things moving, right? And I thought that was exciting. So I kept pushing on. And as you know, after that, I went and did a whole bunch of other stuff. Should I get into that? Should I follow up with that as well?
Of course, I'm gonna ask you my next question. So you worked in airport logistics, Amazon Express projects, right? DHL contracts, and now brokerage business development. What lessons stayed with you the most throughout that journey?
Absolutely, the number one thing that has stuck with me is just people, right? Everything that a company does is really pushed by the people who work for it. And I was trusted by companies to start operations and run operations and guide those people to do the right thing at the right time and share with them how important logistics is, right? I mean, other jobs are important too, food jobs or cleaning jobs or what have you. But when you're shipping on either the road or an airplane or the sea, the human lives can be at risk. And that's, we're going to touch on that later today and how it may affect the whole landscape and protecting people. And I think the one thing that stuck with me is just how you treat people and making sure safety is number one.
Yes, I agree with you. What do people outside logistics completely underestimate about freight operation?
I think you would say the same as me, is that people overlook how important it really is. Just the process. We know how deliberate we have to be in making sure the truck arrives on time, delivers on time, and nothing happens in between. We do everything we can to make sure that not only our shippers get what they need, but also our drivers are safe, and we're doing what we can to make the road safe for everyone on it.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Actually, I mentioned it earlier, but I was invited to some expo, which is called Disaster Expo, and I was so surprised that there is no one from logistics and supply chain as a speaker. And there were people about, from construction and from different other industries, but no one from logistics. And I found it very weird because we are the first responders. And I think that a lot of people don't understand the importance of logistics and operation and the importance of job we do every day, especially when disaster and some important force majeure situations come up.
No, you're absolutely right. I think bringing more focus to that is important. I think what you're doing, and who knows, you might be the next speaker at a big event like that, just gaining all this knowledge in the industry and sharing your thoughts. I think that you're on the right track. People need to take logistics more seriously and the safety behind it.
I agree. So let's talk about fraud because it has become one of the biggest conversations in freight lately. Why do you think the industry got here?
Bad actors, right? Not everyone is like you and me. Some people will lie and say their truck is somewhere it's not. They'll say their driver is somewhere they're not. They'll turn off tracking. We know that those people set a bad example for the rest of the industry. And we have to make up for it, right? We have to show our shippers and our customers that that's not how every broker is. It's not how every shipper, every carrier is. And, it's up to us, the rest of us, to set the example every day to assure people that, we do care. And, that's what we're talking about right now.
Yes. So for listeners who may not understand the legal side, can you please explain in simple terms what the Montgomery Carib Transport ruling means and why brokers should care?
Right. I had to do a lot of research myself just after this case went through, just to get my knowledge around it too. But my understanding to share with everyone is there was a landmark case. It's a 9-0 ruling in the Supreme Court. A driver was hired by Carib Transport, and it seems that they're working for C.H. Robinson. It had been brokered to this man. He wasn't able to carry the amount of freight that they were expecting or giving to him. So I believe he was double brokering the freight to other drivers. And unfortunately, he got in a very bad wreck. And liability came back to C.H. Robinson, which is the broker. Usually that doesn't happen. In this case, he went after the broker for liability. And, it's a tort case. So he was looking for, damages to his future, his body, and the horrible accident that he was in. And C.H. Robinson deflected to say that, hey, look, the FMCSA has set the guidelines for carriers. We follow those guidelines. The only thing is that, unfortunately, the Supreme Court decided that C.H. Robinson didn't do all that they could to protect and vet this carrier and obviously being on the road. So, now we're looking at, as brokers, carrying additional liability. We can be sued now. It's happened. So how do we prepare against that? And that's what we're here to share with our viewers today.
Yes. So do you think this ruling changes the responsibility for brokers that now we carry when selecting carriers?
I think it does change the landscape. I think that the ones who are doing things right shouldn't worry as much. I think some people are unfortunately brokering a load and they're brokering a load to someone else and, passing liability down the line. I think those who are doing it right and vetting their carriers, adding in extra steps to protect yourself, show on paper and show digitally that you're leaving a paper trail of, hey, I did a background check. I took a picture of a license. I know that he has insurance. We can't assume those things anymore because it could shut us down, right? One accident is all it takes. And I think we need to be extra vigilant right now in this landscape.
Yes. So what kind of things should brokers now document more carefully that maybe they ignored before? Because we already have all of this technology, we're doing the best we can. Like what else we should do, right?
I mean, you're touching on everything perfectly. I think everyone's wondering, well, what do I do differently? Because I've already, vetted the carrier through FMCSA. I've looked on Carrier Watch. I've looked at, all these websites. We're all waiting for defined terms, but until there's defined terms as a broker, you need to be doing extra to carry your burden and make sure that you're not going to be liable, right? So paper paper and documentation digitally, not just the bare minimum anymore. It's not going to be, are they satisfactory? It's going to be, hey, have they had a drug and alcohol? If they have, we need a safety letter saying that the driver has either went through classes or he's been fired and they're not using that driver anymore. We need extra precaution, whatever that is. I think here at our company, we're going through a lot of extra steps with our attorney to make sure that we're covered, right? We're doing above and beyond and making sure that every carrier we bring on is safe on the road.
Yes, I love it. So, how do you think this impacts smaller brokerages that may not have huge compliance department or, as you say, like legal teams?
Bigger effect on smaller companies, I do feel. I think that smaller brokerages and carriers are going to have to be extra vigilant because of the liability, right? You can cover insurance $1 million or $2 million per occurrence, but these lawsuits are much bigger than that. So it could shut down an entire company. And that's why we need to, right, protect ourselves in our indemnification clauses. That's a hard word to say. But basically, in our agreements, right, when we agree with a driver, we need to put on there, look, your responsibility on the road as a driver is to be safe. We understand that your past record is safe, but this isn't about a past record. Just like me and you talking in the moment, the past is the past. This is the present. We need to make sure that that driver is aware on the road, and we need to make sure that in the agreement that they sign, they understand that they're liable. We need to share that liability so it's not just, well, I'll get in a crash and I'll sue the broker.
Yes, sure. But that's the thing. Accidents can happen even if the driver is safe, right? It's not only depending on him. There are other factors. Me being a truck driver, I know that if I drive safe, it's not only depending on me. It also depends on other drivers, right? There is situations that you cannot brake. It is a heavy truck. You are loaded, and accidents always happen, especially in winter season. So I think there should be something else that we can do to prevent it. What do you think about this? I mean, there is not unlimited things that we should do, right? There is some balance that needs to be done, but it's very tricky. I don't know.
No, you're right. I think right now all of us are wondering how we can protect ourselves. The thing that I think about is this, right? When you see a court case go in one direction, it's not going to mean that every single time there's an accident, the broker is going to be liable, right?
Yes.
We know in this case, the broker did not do what they were supposed to do. And I'm sorry to just say that plainly. I'm not trying to, put any bad name on who was involved in this case. I'm just saying that they need to be more careful about their standards, their quality, and their communication. And I think that if we continue to do what we're doing, I don't think that unless there's a really bad case of misuse or, we just completely blew off the vetting of the carrier, we don't have any documentation, or it's double brokered down the line, I think that's when you can expect to see, obviously, an increase in liability on our part.
Yeah. So, what are some red flags brokers should never ignore during carrier vetting, in your opinion?
I think that not only when they were created, right? They can't be created yesterday. I'm sorry to say, we don't want to give the newest guy on the block a chance. It's hard because they don't have a history where we can actually view to say they've been safe. So they might have to start off with smaller shippers, and we might have to go with more experienced drivers. We're looking at, at least 180 days, but more or less a year of operation. And no drug and alcohols. We don't want to see that drivers are drinking, getting caught, and going back on the road. Our requirement is if there is a drug and alcohol on the MC record, that we need a safety letter saying that the driver's been removed.
Yeah.
We can't have that risk. That was even before the landmark settlement. So now we're adding in even more liability, and like I said, just doing everything from drug and alcohols, I think, to the amount of times delivered on time and the amount of safety alerts. And, we're considering even more safety precautions where before maybe, this carrier's been good, but we need to continue to review and add, higher standards. And it's harder for carriers. I feel bad because, carriers are really in a tough spot here, even if they are safe, like you said, things can happen.
Yeah. But that's a ripple effect, in my opinion. Like, if shipper wants a affordable payment, right, to move their product in an affordable way, the carriers who are good ones, they don't want to move that freight for that rate, right? And shipper don't want to adjust because they also need to make their customer happy. And so it all comes down to the price. If they pay right, and then we can get the right carriers, not the new ones, as you say, like 3 months, even 1 year. So I think eventually it all comes down to the price. How to balance, how to not, at the end of the day, we are the consumers. We are gonna pay for that cost, right? Whatever we
Yes.
make, food, construction material, everything is going to be higher and higher if, the industry goes this way. It's all affecting.
I agree with you. Actually, I've been thinking about that myself just as a consumer. I don't really have a thing against new drivers. I really don't have a thing against, taking a chance on someone. We are very careful about how we do that and our selection process. But it is a money thing in the end because, shippers, you want to ship something for bottom dollar, and you don't want to pay more costs for a better carrier. Well, you're going to have to compromise somewhere. You're not going to pay bottom dollar for carriers that are never in an accident. Okay. It's, you pay for what you get, and shippers are going to have to understand that there's going to be more money going into this, unless all of a sudden every carrier on the road becomes amazing, right? We need to compensate in some way.
Yes, I agree. So one of our viewers, Amin, he's asking if a broker properly vets a carrier and everything looks good, can the broker still be held liable if the carrier later gets into an accident after taking the load?
I'd say the answer is yes, right? Liability can happen even when you do everything you're supposed to do. But the important thing is that you do even more, right? If you do become liable or it does go down to a court case, it's what documents do you have to protect yourself? What documents to show that someone else is liable, either in your agreement, in your communication. I wouldn't suggest resorting to a phone call for any documentation because you don't have it recorded. And if it goes to court and there is an accident, they'll be asking you, where's your proof? So anything you have now, a paper trail is 10 times more important, right? Yes, you can still be liable if something happens. Yes, you can be liable if nothing happens, right? And your fault. Just be careful, protect yourself, protect your company.
So what tools or systems are helping brokers adapt to this new environment? Do you think technology and AI are going to become essential for compliance and risk management moving forward, or you rely more on human?
I think you're right on. I think both, though, Lida. I think that we're going to have to rely on the human element. We need to have someone behind that. I don't want to ship with someone who's going to put me off to a voice answering machine or I'm talking to a robot, right? I'm going to want to talk to a person like yourself, and I'm going to want to know your standards. Who are you working with, right? But then I'm also going to want the information. I'm going to be using AI myself, and I think you will too, to find carriers with really high standards themselves. So I think carriers will be using AI to find what brokers they can get in with, right? So I do feel like both.
So, what is one thing you wish more brokers, shippers, and carriers understood about the future of this industry?
I think one thing is that everyone in logistics works really hard to get things where they need to go, and we're all there's a lot of people in the logistics industry. When I worked for Roadway, I think they did 11,000 shipments a day, and that's just one company. So you can imagine how many people are in logistics, and I wish people would understand that we're doing this for the economy. If we all stop today, then stuff stops moving and the economy stops moving. So, logistics gets a bad rap, I feel like, for being, assholes or tough to deal with. Truck drivers get a really bad rap. I don't think that's the case. I think we work really hard, long hours, and we're stressed.
So, talking about carriers, I want to mention my sponsor, right? Before we jump into rapid fire question, I want to thank my today's sponsor, Digital Permit Book. If you are tired of permit paperwork chaos, expired permits, and wasting time digging through documents during inspection, Digital Permit Book helps tracking companies keep everything organized digitally and accessible when you need it, especially DOT week inspection time. Definitely check them out if you want to make compliance a little less painful. Thank you for Digital Permit Book. And then I want to ask you rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Ready, let's go.
Reefer, flatbed, or drive-in?
Drive in.
What is one logistics trend people are underestimating right now?
Repeat the question.
What is one trend in logistics people are underestimating?
I would say driverless truck.
Yes. One thing brokers do that drives carriers crazy.
That's a good one. I would say ask for tracking.
Yes. What is the worst, carrier ghosting or shipper ghosting?
Shipper, definitely.
I agree with you. I chose a hard questions for you, but last one. One piece of advice for someone new entering freight.
Don't give up. It's a hard industry. It's something you have to stay positive and keep your eyes in front of you, right? There's nothing happening there that you can change. So keep your eyes on the prize. Look forward. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's a hard grind. You can't come in for one day, do your work, and sit on your laurels and sit on your butt for 2 weeks. You gotta come up every day ready to go. Whatever it is, coffee, exercise, read a book, whatever motivates you, do it and get in there every day and give it your best. That's what I do.
So, what is your favorite thing before we wrap up about the logistics industry, other than like saving lives and doing whatever important things we are doing?
My favorite part of logistics, I like the people. I think it's the opposite as most people. They don't like dealing with the people. It's hard for them. Everyone's rough. I like dealing with the people. I like talking to people and being the exception. I like calling people and seeing how their day is going and seeing how I can help them, right? That's the way I look at me being I'm in freight business, right? I'm sales, but I go talk to new businesses, right? The same. And I just want to help people, right? I'm a philanthropist. That's what I wanted to be growing up. I wanted to help people. So I look at it as I'm going to help them ship stuff for cheaper than anyone else and at least do it safely so they don't have to worry about it. That's my favorite part.
I knew that you're gonna answer people. I had the feeling, Julian.
You know me already, I guess. Hey, you like people too. I have a thought.
We both are extrovert. Now it's like everyone is saying they are introvert. I wish I was introvert sometimes because I am not, definitely not.
Yeah, no, I want to go. I want to go, go, go.
Yes, Julian, thank you so much. This was such an interesting show, and I think this conversation was very important because freight is changing fast, right? Brokers can't afford to operate the same way they did 5 years ago. And to everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in into our episode, and I will see you on next Thursday. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who might need it. Thank you, Julian, again.
Thank you very much, Lida. Thanks for having me on the show. Maybe we'll have it again sometime.
For sure. Thank you, Julian.
Thank you. Have a nice day, guys.